good afternoon, and welcome to AFO Radio. My name is Mag, and this is AFO Live. We're right smack in the middle of the week, and guess what? We're about a month to Christmas. I'm speechless. Okay, where did time go? How did we get here so fast? I wish I knew, but nevertheless, I do hope your day's coming along pretty good so far, and you're doing well as well. Okay, if you're back at work, happy working. Hope your work day's doing great, and if you're at home, wonderful. All right, what's for lunch? I know it's about an hour to lunchtime. Share with me. Okay, feel free to comment in the comment section below, and we'll chat this afternoon. Okay. Now, over the past few years, I think we've heard a lot about the job scope as a caregiver, and I think being a caregiver, as much as it is so rewarding in so many ways, it also comes with a whole lot of challenges. It also comes with a whole lot of emotional roller coaster. It's a roller coaster of emotions, basically, and it's not an easy job. So this afternoon, I will be speaking to a wonderful person. She's a caregiver, and she's been doing this over the past year. Okay, in this past year, and she shared some stories with me that pointed her towards this particular path in life, and I think you'll enjoy her story as well. So let me bring on my guest this afternoon. Her name is Bibiana Ang. She's a care professional with experience caring for individuals with diabetes, cancer, and Parkinson's. She does have a whole lot of passion. When you hear her speak about what she does, it's really heartwarming. Okay, so let's bring on Bibiana on the show this afternoon right here on AFO Live. Hi, Bibiana. How are you today?
Hi, Meg. Thank you. I'm fine. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. So, how's the whole CMCO going for you?
Well, it's pretty much okay. Well, we're doing our part. I'm doing my part, staying home and staying safe to help the situation.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so before the show started, I was glad that you shared with me your story, how you became a caregiver, how you got into this particular job, or line or industry, whichever you may call it. So, why don't you share with our viewers, our listeners, how you got a job as a caregiver, how you got into it?
Okay. Well, firstly, I was born and bred on the beautiful island of Penang. Just a brief introduction of myself.
Uh huh.
And I took on the role about a year ago, and
Mm-hmm.
have been assigned to cases that include personal hygiene, basic grooming like showering, grooming, hair care, toileting, companionship, and engagement of exercises and activities, grocery and meal preparation, medical escort, medication reminders, and mind stimulating activities, and some light housekeeping as part of the job as a caregiver. How did I end up becoming a caregiver? I've always been in the corporate industry. I've
Uh
been
huh.
in sales, marketing, and training, and I've taken a keen interest to become a trainer. Um, I guess my journey of becoming a caregiver began when I was a patient myself in the hospital,
Okay.
and I received the care from the nurses, and that touched me very deeply. Something stirred in me, and I was asking myself if I could do this for others. There are a lot of people out there who need a lot of tender, loving care.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but I have not heard of a vacancy or a job as a caregiver back then, or even any courses that offered a certification for a job, for a caregiver. So I kind of left it aside because I was too caught up with my work
Corporate
back
world.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I was also involved in church ministry, which exposed me to visiting sick members and praying for them. And during that, I observe that, hey, there is this tug in my heart again. Like it's reminding me, you know, if this is your calling, don't just keep it aside. Yeah. So, but there was this fear, like I want to do this, but is there such a job that actually pays? That
Yeah.
was my fear. I was initially very concerned if caregiving would be able to sustain my living expenses
Yep.
versus what I was actually getting in the corporate. Nevertheless, I prayed about my plans and I asked God for his guidance. And if this is my calling, that he would open doors for me. That was when I seriously started searching for a caregiving opportunity. Well, one thing good came out of the MCO was one day while I was browsing through my Facebook, the Homage ad actually popped up, and I decided to, explore. And it seemed like the perfect starting point for me, and I initiated my application.
Wonderful.
I had actually planned to start off as a part timer during the weekends or after working hours to
Start
gain
slow,
the experience.
basically.
Yeah, yeah, start slow. While my application was being processed, I was informed by my employer that I was going to be laid off.
Okay.
So it seemed like everything had fallen in place. One door closes, another door opens.
You're pretty positive about that, isn't it? Most of the time, if you get laid off or, in that situation, you'd be like, "Oh no, why me?" But you took it in
Yeah,
stride.
yeah, because I believe I prayed and God has His plans for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here I am as a caregiver.
Wow, that's a great story. I always believe
Thank
that,
you.
as long as you do your best, God will take care of the rest. So, yeah,
Yeah, yes,
great.
yes, you're
Okay.
right.
Okay, so what did you initially want to become? If you said you were in the corporate world, so what were you doing back then? Was that your actual passion? Was that your dream job that you had to, give up?
Mm, not exactly. When I was in the corporate, I've always found that I don't really quite fit in.
Okay.
Yeah, even though I was up to the management level, but something was still missing. I'm not totally satisfied.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done sales, I've done marketing, and actually I like training. So
Oh, great.
and yeah, and but somehow or other there was this thing that was still missing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now I think we've heard a lot about caregivers in the past few years at least. I think my awareness about caregivers also increased in the past few years because I've heard a lot of it. I've heard of people having caregivers help them through their difficult moments, whether they're sick or they need assistance and stuff like that. So maybe you can walk us through, the job scope of a caregiver. Why does
Hmm.
one actually turn to a caregiver for assistance? What are some of the causes?
Okay. Well, I believe the job scope of a caregiver encompass not only the physical needs, but the emotional and mental needs of the care recipient.
Absolutely.
While attending to the physical needs for their daily activity living, there is also the emotional and mental part that caregivers need to tackle,
Yeah.
which requires a lot of patience and compassion. Why does one turn to a caregiver? Basically, we all want the best for our loved ones, and when we are not able to give that quality of care to our loved ones, then one turns to the service of a caregiver, especially now, in most of the household,
Yeah.
all children work, They leave their parents, their elderly parents at home,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have peace of mind while they're at work because anything can happen at home.
True.
Yeah. Uh, and also when it's dealing with a chronic medical condition,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of a lot of people are not able to handle that on their own.
Absolutely. I'd,
Yeah.
I'd be lost. I'd be completely lost. So, okay,
Yeah.
since you've mentioned this, right, it is very important. It's a very important part that you brought up, right? You don't have the know-hows or the skills or the assistance that you need in this situation, right? So,
Hmm.
as a caregiver, I would assume that you would have to have the required skills, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So, where does the skills come from? I mean, is that training? Do you actually study to be one?
Yes, we are actually sent for training for the basic life skills that minimally required to
Okay.
be a caregiver. And I guess the rest of it is what I've learned through my life, the journey of my life. I mean, I've cared for my father, I've cared for my mother, my grandfather. So it is
It's
not
life
something that,
experiences.
yeah, it's not something that I had to like go to school and study that, but
Okay.
yeah, it's
Okay. So,
natural.
being a caregiver and a nurse is completely different in that case, isn't it? I mean, how would you deal with someone with a chronic disease in that case?
Okay, certain skills are required, which can only be performed by a registered nurse,
Nurse. Yeah.
right? So basically, the caregiving aspect is to assist the nurses in other roles, like showering,
Okay.
feeding. You don't need a nurse to do that.
Okay.
A caregiver can actually do that.
Okay.
And sometimes, yeah, you think showering is a simple thing, right?
It's not.
Yeah, yeah. But what I learned the past year is also that when I'm showering another person, I want to feel what it's like when I'm showering for myself. So
Yeah.
how do I feel that I'm clean
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
sense? So what I'll do is I'll wash my face while I'm showering. I'll clean myself, and oh, okay, this is an area which I think it's oily, right, and it needs a little bit more scrub and all that. So then I will put it to my care recipient when I'm showering for them, and I'll
Okay.
do the same thing for them. And
Oh,
how gentle, how much pressure I should put on them because they're elderly, their skin easily tear. So I have to take all that into consideration.
okay. All right. Now, you brought up that point, and that led me to another question. I mean, when we're dealing with elderly, I think a lot of people forget that although you are a caregiver or you hire a caregiver, you also have to preserve the pride and, the person's pride, lah, basically. You want to respect them and give them that respect. So, how do you make sure that the elderly or whoever you're showering, feels that, they don't feel humiliated or feel like, oh, this is what my life has come to?
Okay, well, yeah, preserving the dignity, basically.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, sometimes we have to be matured about it, that the anatomy of female and male are different. And if there is a need to shower a person of the opposite sex,
Yep.
this is basically a normal anatomy that we see in a male. And we we just have to treat their body with respect and not snigger and laugh at certain
Yeah.
things when, yeah, or even if they were to uh, you know sometimes they are not able to control the
Yep.
movement of their bowels, and it if they have to do it outside, then we should not put them to shame in that sense, you know.
Yeah.
We should comfort them that it's all right, you know.
Yeah.
It's you can't control this, you know. Yeah.
Wow. That takes a lot of patience, isn't it? I mean, it takes a lot of patience, that takes a lot of love. And I think to carry out a job as this, you need to have the passion to help someone all the time. So, what are some of the challenges that you've faced as a caregiver?
Okay. Um, one of the main and biggest challenge is that when the care recipient themselves give up hope, they give up living because they've kind of been robbed of their independence,
Yeah.
you know, when they're actually diagnosed with a certain disease.
Yep.
So it's it's tough to you know to bring them back to that. I want to live for a certain time again. I want to go on living again, to bring back that confidence in them and to
Yeah.
bring them back that you can recover.
Yeah.
You can actually recover. Uh, that's the most challenging part I find.
Wow. Okay. So, how do you deal with difficult patients? I mean, you've done this in the past year. Have you come across many?
Uh, I always pray that God will give me, you know, good,
The strength.
yeah, the strength and good care recipients. I wouldn't say I've really had bad ones. Maybe because my approach is also pretty gentle. Uh,
Okay.
though I had once, although I tried to be a bit friendly with one of the care recipient, like, you know, let's get to know each other kind of thing. And he probably I have not built that trust with him yet, so he was not willing to share his personal life at
Yeah.
that point in time. Yeah, so I would need to know where to draw that line
Yeah.
if the person is not ready. But
Okay.
so far, that was the only time that the care recipient kind of like was a little bit hard on me. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But human beings, I think we all have our mood swings. We all have our emotional roller coasters, and
Yes.
sometimes, as a person who are, or rather, like you've mentioned, a care recipient, correct? As a care
Yes.
recipient, sometimes you just project it onto your caregiver because you really don't know how else to let it out or let it go, So, how do you
Yes.
deal with patients like this?
Well, in this and in case, I would say patience is a virtue that is very much required in every case, actually, but more so the difficult ones. As a caregiver, I need to understand that the caregiver themselves are going through tough time. I
Absolutely.
mean, they have to accept the disease that has come upon them. They have to adapt to the changes that's taken over their body. And like I mentioned, you know, they've been robbed of their independence.
Yep.
Once they were independent, now they are dependent.
Dependent.
Yes, right. So it's quite difficult for them as well, uh, especially when it happens suddenly, like in patients with stroke.
Yep.
You know, you wake up the next morning and it's like my independence is gone.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. But even Parkinson's patients, they find it difficult, although the disease is of a more progressive.
Yep.
Uh, so you find that frustrations, anger, despair are often seen in care recipients, and yes, they do express it on the caregivers.
Yep.
But I understand that, you know, I don't take anything to heart. If they get angry or they raise their voice, they are on a difficult journey of their life, and whatever is thrown to me is not personal.
Oh.
So yeah, that's where the compassion and understanding come in.
You're a wonderful person, Viviana. I mean, it takes a lot of strength
Thank
and it
you.
takes a lot of love to, say things like that and remind yourself constantly when faced with difficulties. So it takes a special person
Yeah.
like you to go out and be an amazing caregiver. So well done. Now, I'm
Thank
just
you.
curious though, as a caregiver, how do you separate yourself from work and your personal time? Has there ever been an occasion where you're so overwhelmed with, emotions that you yourself take it out on your family, perhaps?
Yeah. Maybe if I was 20, 30 years younger, I'll probably do that. But at this age, I've been able to separate them quite well. As long as I keep in mind that nothing is personal,
Yeah.
and I'm able to separate myself from the negative emotions at work. If at all I brought home work, okay, in inverted commas, yeah,
Yeah.
it would be how can I help my care recipient to be better? How to elevate his suffering, or how can I help them gain back that independence so that they are able to feel that life is worth living again. Yeah. So I don't think I have ever thrown anything at my family at this point.
I sure hope not.
Not yet. Yeah.
Not
I don't
yet.
think that will happen. Yeah, I think that will happen because I'm able to balance that. Yeah, especially at this age. But like I said, if I was 20, 30 years younger, I might do that because I
Understand.
won't be able to, have that
Control it.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So if you're watching us this afternoon, this is AFO Live. I am Mag, and with me today is Bibiana Ang. She is a care professional with Homage Malaysia, and she cares for individuals with diabetes, cancer, and Parkinson's. She's a very passionate person, and I'm just looking at the list of things that you love doing. Singing, dancing, outdoor activities. You're a very fun person, isn't it? You truly embrace life, huh?
Yes. Yes. That's how you stay alive.
You heard that, okay? I think it's so true. That's how you stay alive. Now, if you're watching us and you have any comments this afternoon, or if you have any questions to ask Bibiana as well, you're more than welcome to actually type it in the comment section below, and I will address it to Bibiana this afternoon. Now, I've got one here by PC Gun. He says, very noble, so noble, Bibiana, and he sends you a heart emoji.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much for
Thank you.
that
Thank
one.
you, Pisigan.
We've got Victor Noguera Vic. I think he's just saying good night because I think in his part of the world perhaps it is night. So
Ah,
thank you so much
okay.
for
Good night. Good night
watching
to
us
you.
this afternoon. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our topic of being a caregiver. What are some of the negative perceptions that people have of caregivers? What can we debunk today?
I think that some people think that caregivers, they have an equation to caregivers are also mates.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
I think
think,
a lot do, isn't it?
yes. And I believe there is a need to educate the society that caregivers are professionals entrusted to care for their loved ones.
Yep,
Okay. Basically, you're caring for a human being.
correct.
Maids have their own role in terms of ensuring that the household matters are kept in proper, like cleaning, meal preparation, and etc. But caregivers are professionally trained, and they require certain skills
Yep,
because we're dealing with a human being. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So you would say that that would be the biggest misconception that people have, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I mean,
Okay.
as a caregiver, light housekeeping, I actually don't mind doing, and I do,
Okay.
because these are small little things that you can actually help out. You know, um, yeah. There is a quote from Mother Teresa that says, "We can't do great things. We all can't do great things, but we can do small things with great love."
Yeah.
So these are the little
Absolutely.
things that you can actually do to help the family of the care recipients.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, have you at any point, in the past year, turned around and say, "Oh no, this was a mistake. I'd rather go back to my corporate job." Just curious. So, you did say earlier, right? If being in the corporate world, you're on top management level. Of course, the salary's amazing up there. And
Yeah,
this one, you are giving your heart and soul, caring for someone else. Have you had that moment of regret anytime at all?
sometimes the devil will come and tempt you. you know. Yeah, but there is this thought that you sure you don't want to go back to the corporate world where you can earn big bucks.
Yep.
But no, the satisfaction, I I don't have that joy uh, when I wake up. I think my friends can see that very clearly in me these days, that I'm happier.
A lot
Uh,
happier.
yes, a lot happier versus when I was working in the corporate. It doesn't give me that joy. It's as if like I found that missing piece when I
Yeah.
was at the corporate. Yeah,
So now you're whole. You're complete. You
yeah,
found your
complete.
calling. That's nice. I love that.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so we've got a question on our comments section that comes from Deborah Yao. She says, "What is one good tip that you can give for someone caring for a loved one with Parkinson's?"
I think
Thank.
not only in Parkinson's, but in all disease, okay, the main thing is to show your love and support uh, to the patient. We need to show that love, that support, and the patience, uh, and to journey together with the patient or the care recipient. It means a lot to them.
When you say love and support and journey together with the patient, how do we do that? I mean, it's easier said than done, but what exactly does it mean?
Yeah, sometimes we find it difficult to love sometimes our
Sorry,
own
Bibiana, we're
family.
losing you a little bit this afternoon.
Oh, uh, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, but a little soft. Maybe you can speak a little louder.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's we find it difficult loving our own family members, right? So what more, when I say love a stranger that you're
Correct.
going to go to. Basically, you need to look at the person is a human being, not as a stranger. So, and basically, you need to love another human being as he is or as she is. So there is no differentiating between this uncle, that uncle. Yeah, it's basically loving a human being.
But I think in terms of Deborah's question, it's more of, as a family member who's taking care of a loved one with Parkinson's, you know that this is already your family member, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes I think for anyone, emotions can get in the way and things can get difficult as well. So how do you journey with them with that love and.
Yeah. Like, okay, I have a mom as well that I care for. She's a cancer survivor. So I need to remind myself as well, that I have to be patient with her. I have to be supportive in whatever decisions,
Yeah.
uh, okay, and whatever activities that she wants to do and she thinks that she's still able to do. I have to be supportive of that. I mean, for example, she says, okay, she can still drive. She wants to go to the market. I won't stop her from doing that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll support that since she's able, because they'll find that I'm still useful.
Yes.
I can still contribute.
Yeah.
So I would support and I would encourage if the patient or the care recipient are still able to do and want to do things on their own.
Absolutely.
you
I
know.
think it goes back to what you said earlier, isn't it? I mean, allowing them to be independent because, when they're
Yes.
robbed of their independence, they feel very hopeless.
Yes, I have this care recipient who's a Parkinson's patient, uh, and I can see that he's, kind of upset because he used to be so independent. He used to
Yep.
drive himself to the park and take his exercise and all that, and then goes for breakfast with his friends. But now, when he walks in the park and he sees people who are healthy, and they go past him, and they say, "Hey, hello, good morning, uncle," and he says, "Look at them, they're so healthy. They can walk fast. Here, I I could do that, but now I have to depend on you guys to help
Yeah.
me, you know." So and he used to go back and he used to sweep the porch, So one day I asked him, I said, "Would you like to try to see
Yeah.
if you could still, sweep the floor?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Don't worry, I'll be here to help you." Okay, so I gave him the broom and the dustpan. And then he started sweeping the floor.
Wow.
And he was all right. He was doing all right. He was able to balance himself because he was always afraid of falling.
Yeah.
So I told him that I'll be at the back of you. I'll support you, not to worry. And then after that, every day, I want to sweep the floor.
But you gave him that, you gave him the ability to believe in himself again. And I
Yes.
think that's so precious.
Yeah. That's
Well
very
done, Bibiana.
important. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's very important because they feel that, I'm so useless. I can't help
Yeah.
my wife. My wife has to, help me all the time,
Yeah.
and she's been working so hard. Yeah. So it's good to help them to be independent.
Absolutely. Wow, wonderful. Now, Leanne says, how nice to have a caregiver like this. Absolutely, I cannot agree more. We've also got Jenny Ang that says, it takes a very special person to do what you do, Viviana.
Okay,
Indeed,
Jen.
okay? Now, we've got another question here by Melanie Chan. Melanie Chan, okay. I think we've asked this question earlier, but maybe you can elaborate. She says, what do you do personally when you encounter a difficult care recipient with a tantrum? And how do you maintain composure? Thank you, Melanie, for your question.
Okay, Melanie. Yes, there will be times when care recipient will throw tantrums.
Yeah,
Uh, as a caregiver, we need God's strength to to really calm ourselves and have that
absolutely.
composure. I mean, we as caregivers, we are also human, right?
Yes.
We also have our emotions, and but we just need to keep that in check, and we have to be very calm and keep that composure. We just have to, yeah. I can only say it on the part of a caregiver that I would do.
Yeah.
There are certain things when care recipients throw tantrums, you just have to let them be,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, until they kind of like just slips
Simmer
it.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But as a caregiver, we have to keep that composure.
Yeah, true, true. It's not easy though to keep that composure. Like I said, you're like one in a million where you can, keep yourself composed and say it's okay. I guess sometimes everybody is frustrated a little bit, right? And I think being a care recipient, you can get to the point where you're even more frustrated because, like you mentioned earlier, you're technically robbed of your independence. So
Yes,
we
yeah.
understand.
And sometimes they may not be able to express it,
Yeah.
therefore, the tantrums come about.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are looking for help, whether it's their elderly parents or a family member that needs rehabilitation or assistance, what should they look out for when looking for caregivers? Obviously, we would all want a Bibiana in our lives, but I think there's only one and too many of us. So, what are some of the requirements that a person should have? How do we choose? How do we weed out the good from the bad?
Um, Okay, I think obtaining client feedback is one of the ways to rate the service of a caregiver because that's direct contact. But it should also be based on an overall assessment of the caregivers in terms of their skills, how it was executed, what manner it was executed, because it's also not fair to rate a bad and good caregiver just from the feedback of a client, to be fair to the caregivers.
Yep.
Okay, so you have to listen to both sides of the story as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that you need to look at the attitude of the caregiver. Uh, a caregiver who possesses a sense of responsibility, a person who has patience,
Yeah.
a person who's a good listener, and has the compassion and a caring heart in general as to every human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to, as a caregiver, we need to have all those for us to really, really care for a person.
Absolutely. I have to agree. Now, what are some of the telltale signs that we should be aware of? Because I think as much as we all want a Bibiana in our lives, we've also had, some people may have had really bad experiences with, caregivers that,
Yes.
don't do very well, especially when dealing with elderly parents. I think they get frustrated as well. So what are the signs that we should notice to say, hey, okay, this is not working for me. Yeah, thank you so much and have a nice day kind of thing.
Yeah. I would say caregivers, who are not responsible and they don't turn up at their workplace after they're being assigned a case. They're always late for work. They don't exhibit any interest or responsibility in their work. Last minute cancellations without valid reasons, happening too often. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Not treating the elderly with respect and dignity. Yeah. I think these are things that you can actually tell whether a person is actually made for a caregiver.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people just want to take on the job, but when it comes to a job as a caregiver, I think you really need to be, into the job. You need to have
Yes.
passion to work with people, because
Yes.
I've seen caregivers who speak to elderly like their children, and when you sit and you watch, you feel like, why are you taking away that respect from them? Why are you robbing them of their dignity? It's not nice. This person is
Yes.
established, and when it comes to that, and you're like, why? So what can be done in situations like that if you have a caregiver who is treating your elderly parent like that?
Uh, well, that's why it's careful. It's important to actually employ caregivers for the correct job, for the correct person. Therefore, you need to filter that from the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah, it will show eventually. Okay, or sometimes it can be actually at the initial stage. You can actually see whether this person can continue to be a caregiver or not. It
Yeah.
will surface, and I I tell some of my friends who are interested in caregiving that just remember that it's not for everybody.
Yes.
It's okay if you want to give it a shot. It's okay, you can try it out. But you have to know yourself to see whether this is something that you can do for long term.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you see this as a long-term thing too, Viviana?
Yes, as long as God has blessed me with a good physical health, I'm all good.
Well done. I love that. Okay, we've got a message here by Eileen Koo. She says, Bibiana, certainly an inspiration to listen to you and how you do it with so much passion, compassion, and purpose in life. I think, that one hit right on the nail,
Yeah.
passion and compassion. That's what you're filled with. And I think,
Thank you, Eileen.
we have so many people that we need, we need more of you. Now, if we can clone you, that'd be
Clone, yeah.
great. Okay, so over the past year that you have been a caregiver, what are some of your most wonderful memories of being caregiver?
Mm, I remember my first assignment. Um, the, this care recipient who was, you can see that he's actually very withdrawn. I mean, of course, even as in my first assignment, I was also, I mean, I was getting cold feet before my first assignment. I had these thoughts about like, what ifs, what if they don't like me? What if I screw up,
Yeah.
on my first assignment? But armed with prayer, I did all right. And the most satisfying thing is that on the after the first assignment, and they said, "Can I request a center that you can come back and look after us again?" So I think that's actually a boost of confidence, and that
Absolutely.
I'm actually doing the right thing.
Well, after all, you did ask for signs, and your signs are like in abundance everywhere. So,
Yeah.
so that was your first assignment. What about the rest? I mean, have you gotten really close to a care recipient, perhaps?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm always curious about that. If you get really close to a care recipient, they treat you like family, and when it comes to, separation, sometimes it gets a bit difficult, isn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Um, while I was caring for this care recipient, um, I I help him with the exercises, and sometimes he does his shoulder rotation, and sometimes it's not complete. So I will hold, I will hold the tip of his fingers, and there were moments that when I held his hand, there was some emotion that actually kind of like we kind of connected,
Yeah.
and this thought came to my mind: what if this person is no longer around?
Yeah.
And I felt that that there is this if you're long enough with this care recipient,
Yep.
there will be some emotional connection.
Absolutely.
And I was also thinking that I have been given this opportunity to care for him, and I would care for him as if he was my father. Yeah, and I think I would do that with all my care recipients.
Okay, wonderful. I think it's going to be really tough, isn't it? I mean, once you get a Bibiana in your life, you don't want to let her go. So, yeah. I think we've come to the end of our questions this afternoon, and I'm glad that all those are of our viewers who are watching this afternoon have had questions as well. We're still taking your questions. We've got about 10 minutes or so. So if you do have any questions, we're speaking to Bibiana Ang. She's a care professional with experience caring for individuals with diabetes, cancer, and Parkinson's. And I would definitely have to say that she is an individual with a heart of gold, and it's been an honor having her on the show this afternoon, truly. So now
Thank
I'm
you.
going to do my segment called What's on Your Mind. So it's something like a rapid fire segment, but not so rapid sometimes because I've been told that my questions can be difficult, but it's actually pretty easy. Okay, so let's see how
Woo.
Bibiana fares in it this afternoon. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. First question. Describe what you do in one word.
Joy.
Wonderful. Now, if there are three things, what are the three most important things to remember in your line of duty?
respect, compassion, patience.
Fantastic. Now, if you were not a caregiver today and you had to take on another job, what would it be? What would you want it to be?
What would I want it to be?
Yeah.
I'll train people to be caregivers.
Oh, you really love what you do, don't you? Now, when faced with challenges and difficulties, what's your best pick me up solution?
Pray.
Wonderful. What is your motto when faced with challenges?
Pray and trust in God.
Very interesting, God. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if caregivers had superpowers, what superpower would be the best?
I would I would request for the power to heal.
You're such a sweetheart. I'm going to cry. You're such a
Me too.
wonderful person.
Me too.
Okay, and finally, okay, one of the most important things that you've learned on this course of work of yours.
We're all on this journey on earth, and we're trying to make the journey as enjoyable and pleasurable for everyone we meet.
Wonderful. That's nice. Heart. Okay, Viviana, you have succeeded to make it through our rapid fire. See, it wasn't so bad, right? Well done on that. Okay, we've got more messages, so let's read more messages. We've got Tanisha who says, "Thank you for sharing your experiences, Bibiana. You are such an inspiring person, and I'm so glad I came across this." Thank you so much, Tanisha, for your comments. We've got Ai Yin Ho that says, "Amazing heart you have right there, Bibiana." She does, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Thank you. Ike.
Okay, so Bibiana, we all know that you are attached to Homage Malaysia, right? And I think you're enjoying what you do today. So if anyone at all who are watching right now and they would like to, engage with a caregiver, whether it's for a family member who needs help or rehabilitating or for elderly parents, where can they go to and who can they get in touch with?
Okay. For those who are interested, they can go to the Homage website, which is www.homage.com.my. Okay. And there is also a number who require the services 016 it's 299 2188.
Wonderful. Maybe you can repeat that one more time.
Okay. All right. For the website, it's www.homage.com.my.
All right.
And for the number, it's 016 299 2188.
All right. If you missed that out, don't worry. You can always turn to Google because they're the best. Okay, so it's Homage Malaysia, www.homage.com.my, correct?
Yes.
All right. So, since we've got no more questions this afternoon, we've come to the end of the show. So, thank you so much, Bibiana, for spending your afternoon with me. Thank you so much for sharing your passion with all of us and sharing your love with all your care recipients. I think they're very blessed to have you in their lives. Keep spreading love and spreading compassion. I think that's what we need more of in today's world, especially in this current pandemic-stricken world we live in. So, continue doing the great work you do. And once again, it's an honor having you here this afternoon.
Thank
Before I
you for
leave
having
you,
me back.
do you have
Thank
any
you.
last messages for our viewers?
Well, for those who would like to become a caregiver, I'd say give it a shot. You may enjoy this role. That's the best thing that has ever happened to me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, Bibiana. We will keep in touch and do take care, yeah? And for those of you watching, this has been AFO Live. I am Mag. You can reach me on my Instagram handle, i.am.mag. I'll see you again tomorrow right here on AFO Radio. Have a pleasant afternoon and happy makaning because it's makan time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, Meg. Bye bye.